with this. Everything we've done up to now basically says, okay, you got y equals 2x plus 3, okay? And your domain is greater than 4. Well, when you looked, the domain restriction they gave you here was that it had to be greater than or equal to negative 4, but less than or equal to 0. You've seen that before, right? That is from our inequalities lesson, and this is your standard in between, right? And because both have lines underneath, then they can both be included. But for the sake of this example, I want to not include 0. You'll see, okay? So then when this happens with this restricted domain, meaning usually on the other ones, there was one arrow on one end, right? I want you to anticipate what's going to happen. So your table of values now has to include, and the first thing you're going to do is take each of those points and include them in your graph. That technically is enough. You don't need more than that. But if you want, take one number in between the two, okay? So now, this is my domain restriction. I have to go all the way to 0. I have to go all the way to negative 4. Now go ahead and plug it in. 2 times 0 is 0 plus 3. Negative 2 times positive 2 is negative 4 plus 3. And then 2 times negative 4 is negative 8 plus 3, okay? So I have that. The goal is graph it, give me your range. So now, let's talk about what happens with our graph. If I have 0, 3, and negative 2, negative 1, actually, this is the reason I did that. Be careful. Can it be 0? No. So very instinctively, I just plotted a point when I should have done what? Made an open circle at 0 because it can't be 0. It has to be less than 0. And then my last point is negative 4, negative 5. Okay, so open circle at 0, closed circle at negative 4. The question is, what do I do now? This is the ultimate, now what? What line do I draw? Do I draw an arrow? No, because if you're thinking about the way we did this yesterday, my graph has to exist between 0 and negative 4. It can't be anything to the left of it. It can't be anything to the right of it. So if it can be anything in between it, won't I just connect it with no arrows? Agreed? So is that how you interpreted that problem when you came across it? But we're not done because it's now asking for the range. And if this is all the way up to 3 and this point is all the way down to negative 7, if the domain is how far left and right, the range is how high up, how low down. Okay? Ash, go ahead. Yes, actually, thank you. I had that as negative 5 on last hour's notes. Thank you. So now that I have that, I have to, if my domain is written with X, and sometimes you'll see it with a D there for domain, then my range now needs to be written the same way. What is my range? It can go as low down as negative 5, and it can be negative 5, right? Because there's a closed circle. And it can go as high up, but it has to be less than what? 3. Got it? See how easy it is? I've done it twice now in the same 2 minutes. Like with open circle and closed circle, you really have to be careful. So that was the special domain restriction that I wanted to make sure you knew to do the in-between.